This is William Oguta. Allow me to present to you Ellen Maguire, who will be highlighting the importance of transition and change post-retirement. Thank you.
I retired, and I say that hesitantly. I retired in 2012, and what changed was that instead of one job, I now have two. For the last 10 years prior to that retirement, I was working with young entrepreneurs, helping them to establish and grow their businesses. And I had this wonderful exit strategy that I was going to step out of that and then do my own thing. Actually, what happened was I required a prostate operation, went into hospital, had the op, everything was 100%. My wife came and picked me up from the hospital, took me home, and I really struggled to get out of the car. I had shooting pains down my left leg, to the extent that I couldn't walk. So eventually I had to crawl on my hands and knees to get into my bedroom. And I got into bed, and the only comfortable position that I could find in bed was, dead ant position, on your back with your feet up. And I stayed in that position for 3 months. And during those 3 months, I had a really huge opportunity to have a look at what's this thing called retirement. Because I had all sorts of plans. I was fit and strong and healthy and everything was great, and I was going to be doing lots of things. And there was this very strong possibility that there was prostate op, followed by back op, followed by Zimmer frame. And, that really hadn't been part of my thinking when I was just sort of casually thinking about my retirement. So during those 3 months, I dived into Google just to try and find out something about retirement. And what I found was that there is lots of information about the money. And not for 1 second am I going to downplay the money. I mean, without the money, it's really difficult to do anything else. So what all of the other speakers have to say is vitally important to you. But what I became really conscious of was that there was very little information about the physical, emotional, and psychological impact of going into retirement. I mean, what does it really mean to go into retirement? And when I was researching, a whole lot of images came up. This was one of them. I mean, is this what retirement is really about? You're sitting in an old age home, lonely, waiting to die, or just sitting like that group of gentlemen with nothing to do. And that little dial there terrifies me. I mean, golf, sleep, take a nap, sleep, take more nap. Is that what my retirement's going to look like? So I was really concerned about that, and so much of it was based on fear. Have I got enough money? What am I going to do? Is my physical health going to survive this retirement? And my retirement was going to last for 25 or 30 years. Type the words retirement and Alzheimer's will come up as kind of the first thing. So Alzheimer's is right there in your face all the time. So everything is this fear-based, better get my stuff in order or else I'm really going to be in trouble. I was like, hell, there's got to be something else. But there was a different kind of image, and that image was this one. And to be honest, that one frightened me more than the first one. Because what that's saying is my useful life is over. Sure, I've got lots of money and I'm going to be able to sit on the beach and look out at the ocean and drink my pina coladas as the sun goes down. But if my retirement is going to last 25 years, is that going to sustain me? I mean, how much golf can I play? So here I had these two kind of conflicting images of what retirement was about, and I didn't like either of them. So I then thought, well, surely there has to be a third image. And you might recognize some of these guys. And they've done some pretty astounding stuff since they went into retirement at 65 or whatever age they were. I mean, for GQ magazine to say that Clint Eastwood is the badass of the year. I mean, there's some pretty big young badasses out there, but Clint Eastwood is ahead of them. I mean, and Mother Teresa did fantastic work and continued right until the day that she died. Desmond Tutu is just astounding. How the hell Keith Richards keeps going, I have no idea. So there are people out there who are really redefining what retirement looks like. And in that redefinition, I felt that there were really two questions that we need to consider. The first is, how do I make a difference in the world in my retirement? And I need to emphasize again, and Hugh mentioned it, I mean, some of us are going to live to 100 years old. And if you've retired at 65, that's 35 years. There has to be more than just getting up in the morning. And in fact, if there's no sense of making a difference in the world, why bother to get up in the morning? So that, I think, is the first question. And then, and I put these two questions in this order deliberately. Having decided this is the difference that I want to make in the world, what does my retirement need to look like? What do I have to put in place so that I can make that difference? So when I look at a room like this, there's a massive amount of knowledge and experience sitting here. And what? Just because you turn 65, you're no longer useful. I mean, thanks Otto von Bismarck for putting a sell-by date on human usefulness. I don't know if you know that it was Bismarck who said that 65 that's the end of your usefulness in your life. So there's this massive amount of talent and experience and knowledge sitting in this room, but around the world. I don't know to what extent you're conscious of this, but I was born in 1947. That puts me in the second year of the baby boomers. And in the next 10 years, from 2012 through to 2022, there will be approximately 100 million people retiring in the Western world. Now, that's an awful lot of people and an awful lot of talent. And are we just going to let that sit in an old age home and do nothing? When the previous Archbishop of Canterbury was making his farewell presentation, he referred to retirees and the value that they bring to the English economy. And he put the figure at £50 billion per annum that retirees bring to the English economy. So there is a different scenario, and that is one of making a difference in the world. I think that the world's in some trouble. We're capable of some wonderful technology, but at the same time, our morals just haven't kept pace. One has to ask oneself, how many kids are going to go to bed tonight starving in a hugely affluent world? And how many people are going to die in Syria and the DRC and Nigeria and in Gaza. And there's a role that we can play because of our knowledge and experience, a role that we can play in providing a moral compass. So, what does that difference look like? And I don't for an instant expect you to look at all of these. I just put up this many because it just gives you an idea of all the things that we can do. We talk a lot about following your passion. And following your passion is sometimes quite difficult. So this list is just, internationally, there are massive issues that need to be dealt with. Nationally, there are as many. Locally, within one's community, there's a massive amount that needs to be done. And even if your passion is around your own family and your own small community, that's fine. But there is a difference you can make. And if you're really struggling to identify where you want to make a difference, there are the 4 Gs of retirement. That's golf, gardening, grandkids, and Google. So finding your passion sounds, every guru at the moment is talking about find your passion. And that can be remarkably difficult because we've been giving all of our attention and energy to our careers. And now suddenly, you want me to follow my passion? So perhaps a couple of little pointers that might point you towards your passions is to go back to when you were a kid. What were the things that really rocked your boat then? Because in the big world, many of those issues now don't need a child's attention, they need an adult's attention. Or when you look at the paper and something really infuriates you. If it really infuriates you, it's indicating that you're getting close to your passion. So start becoming a little bit conscious of what are the things that excite you, yes, but what are the things that really disturb you? Because those may be hints to your passion. So if this is some of the things that we can do to bring meaning to our retirement, then what do I have to do to design my retirement so that I have the emotional, psychological, and physical strength to do the things that drive me? And when one looks at our retirement, there are three phases that we need to go through. The first is an ending. Because what is right now is going to end. And that ending may be your career, your regular salary that you're getting, the status that you enjoy. I'm a consultant, so people look up to me because I come along and say all sorts of clever things. As soon as you retire, that's gone. So it's really important to have a look at what are the things that are going to end, and am I going to be able to let go of them? And some of them are the practical things of your career, etc. But many of them are also things about who you are. So the second step in preparing for your retirement is to have a period of introspection and really to ask the question, who am I? Who am I now? If I look at my career, a teenager chose that. And he was a long-haired hippie-type teenager anyway. And I wouldn't trust him for a moment now. But he decided that I wanted to do a bachelor's degree at UCT, and then I wanted to do whatever other things and once I had my degree, then I was kind of committed to that direction. So my retirement is an opportunity to say, okay, thanks very much, teenager. I'm going to put that down. Now, as an experienced, mature adult, I want to make some different choices. But to be able to do that, I need to be pretty clear about who I am. What is it that interests me? Who am I as a person? So that's the second phase. And then the third phase is to say, okay, what do I want my retirement to look like? And what are the things that I want to be able to do? And what I've looked at is there are 5 types of health that we need to enjoy. The first is our physical health. And our physical health is quite broad. I mean, it's appropriate that we're in the centre that we're in at the moment. It's really important that we exercise. Because a couch potato lifestyle will come back and bite us now. So some form of exercise, and not becoming the geriatric mountain man who gets out there and is winning mountain bike races. I'm not looking at that kind of exercise. Just that takes you out into nature, that gives you a sense of well-being. There's also our nutrition. It's again appropriate that we're in a centre where the whole idea of our nutrition has just been turned on its head. So, how many are on the diet? But our nutrition is really important. And perhaps supplements become necessary because the ability of our body to regenerate is considerably slower as we get older. Also associated with our physical health is the amount of sleep that we get. And it's really important that we start getting those 7 or 8 hours sleep a night. And I've kind of left this one to the last. It's really important that we drink water. Most of us are dehydrated all the time. So it's really important as we get older that we up the amount of water that we drink. And related to that is that we down the amount of alcohol that we drink. Because alcohol is the biggest killer in terms of our physical well-being. So that's our physical health. Our mental health, I mentioned before about Alzheimer's. It's everywhere. But it's really important to maintain our mental health. I mean, for many of you, your careers have been about your mental health and your mental ability. And there are things that we can do. They relate to our diet, but they also relate to kind of exercising our minds. So if you're addicted to Sudoku, good on you. But there are lots of things that we can do to keep stimulating the neural pathways and developing new ones, so that as old ones die, so they're replaced, as opposed to just our mental capacity diminishing. I said I wasn't going to talk about financial health, and I'm not going to talk about what you've already got. But many, many people don't have enough for a 25-year retirement, and I'm one of them. So I need to look at how can I supplement my pension, the income that I'm going to be getting from investments. How do I supplement that and continue to generate some sort of income? And it might be that I start off by volunteering, and because I'm such a great volunteer, then I start getting a stipend for doing it. Or it could be anything. A friend of mine was really interested in bees and wanted to keep bees so that he could produce some honey, and then he would sell that honey on to some friends. It's turned out he's got himself a major enterprise because the farmers in the Boerland really needs his bees to pollinate their fruit trees. So, yes, he produces some honey, but he's actually doing really, really well hiring out his hives for pollination of farmers' trees. So it's really allowing yourself to be open to opportunities to continue to generate an income. Social health, it's broad, but I'll just look at two things. On the one side is your friendships. Many of us have friends that we made when we were at school and at university. It gets harder to make friends as you get older. And it's really important for us to have a look at our friendships. Have we maintained contact with our friends? Or have we allowed things to drift? Do we get together with friends and just shoot the breeze? You know, my mental picture of paradise is sitting on an Italian pavement, drinking espressos, talking absolute rubbish and playing dominoes, but with friends, because it's that connection with friends that's important. And then, of course, related to that is family. I'm very fortunate. My kids are still in Cape Town, but I have sisters who live in England, and I haven't seen them for 10 years. I have a niece who lives in Australia. I haven't seen her for 10 years. So my connection with family has become very tenuous. And as a conscious thing, I need to start rebuilding my relationships with family, because that's the food of life. The last one is intellectual health, and I've separated intellectual health and mental health. The intellectual health is really about broadening our horizons, because one of the problems with getting older is that the world starts to close in on us. And you know, all of us will have people that we know who literally end up their lives confined to a single room. They're physically capable of getting out and about, but the world starts getting scary out there. So they start to close it in, and their window to the world becomes their television set, or more recently, Facebook. But it's really important to keep those walls away. So how do you broaden your horizons? And of course, travel is one of them. But not necessarily just as a tourist, a sightseer. Many people travel because they're pursuing a passion. So really important to maintain one's intellectual health as well. So how do we take all of this and turn it into something? And I'd like to sort of follow a story. I mean, we all love a hero, be it a Luke Skywalker or Modesty Blaise, James Bond, Harry Potter. I mean, we love the heroes. But what we often forget is that in every hero's story, in every hero's journey, there is an elder. And you might recognize some of them. I mean, do you recognize all of them? Gandalf in The Hobbit, and Dumbledore in Harry Potter, Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. The bottom here, anybody know? Morpheus, X. M in James Bond. And who of you can remember the karate master's name? Sorry? No, Mr. Miyagi. Sorry? Oh, yes, wax on and wax off, yes. And we tend to overlook the elder in these heroes' stories. But if you follow the elder, what you see is that he or she appears at that critical moment and provides the hero with a gift. And the gift may be some advice. It may be a talisman, a weapon, a shield, or something. But without the elder's intervention, the hero's journey is surely lost. So, where are those elders? One of the really bad things is that since the Second World War, we've pretty much taken our elders and stuck them away in old age homes, kind of out of sight and out of mind. And we really need those elders. So, where are they? Well, that's you, because we are now those elders. And we have a massively important role to play in supporting the new generations coming through. So our kids and our kids' kids require us to be there as elders. It'll help if we get a little bit closer to who those elders might be. So what I've done is I've put together 4 different archetypes of elders. The first one is an artisan. And the artisans are those people who know how things work. They get things done. They're able to connect the dots, and they can shortcut the red tape. So all of us have some aspect of artisan in us. The second type of elder is an architect. They're the self-made men and women, the kind of movers and shakers in the world. And he is a really good example of an architect. The work that he's doing in Rwanda and various other places is quite astounding. The third type of elder is an artist. They're the people who think outside the box, who are the experimenters, the innovators. Any ideas on a good one? I think that Steve Jobs was definitely an artist, and was able to lend his artist mentality to the people around him, and to the younger people around him. And then the fourth archetype is the activist. And we're fortunate in that we've got the ultimate one. Now, all of us have some aspect of all of these archetypes. And it's really important that we take that skill and knowledge that we have and pass it on to the next generation of heroes. So, what are the things that we can do? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Just in case you thought I was being sexist, there are a whole series of the same four archetypes amongst women. But what are the things that we can do to take this idea and turn it into something practical? So, the artisans, our role is to hold the quality of service and the quality of products, and to make sure that things work properly. So we talk a lot about having a mentor, because that mentor is there to help that younger person apply their talents, but we can hold those standards of quality. Thank you. The architects, they need to be sitting at the right hand of today's movers and shakers, and they need to be asking the question, but should we? And let me explain what I mean by that. We have the technology to keep you alive on life support for 20 years. but should we? And somebody needs to be holding that question. And in all sorts of areas in our lives, that question needs to be asked and it needs to be held until there is an answer to it. And that is a role that we can play. For the artists, it's to help people live in a world of change. I mean, if you consider the life that you've lived and the changes that you've gone through, now everything is done electronically. In my first job, everything was done by hand. We had a telephone, but it was one of those ones with a wheel, and it goes tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tick. And the amount of change has been absolutely staggering. So we've learned how to manage our lives within that rapid change. And the change that faces our children and our children's children is even greater than what we've experienced. So we have a role to help them to manage that change. And then finally, the activists is to be the moral compass of our society, of our community, and within our family. So we have a hugely important role to play. And the question I'd like you to ask yourself as you leave here is, what is my gift as an elder? What is the gift that I am going to pass on? And I'd like to offer you a gift. So what is my gift? For the last 3 years, I've been developing a program that takes you through the thinking about the psychological, physical, emotional aspects of retirement. And in your goodie bag, you have a little slip of paper. It's called The Elder's Journey. If you would be interested, I'd like to offer you 7 of those, the modules in that program. There are 27 modules altogether, 7 core modules. I'd like to offer you those 7 core modules free of charge. And if you would like to take up that offer, I will be outside afterwards, and you just come along and drop that little slip of paper with your details on it, and I will introduce you to the Elder's Journey. Thank you very much. I'm not too sure if I've got a moment to take a question or two. Yes.
I'm an activist.
Excellent.
I looked through your list of 30-odd visions of what you could do when you retire. And out of those 30, there were 19 that are directly related to the fact that the world's overpopulated.
Yes.
And I think everyone in this room can think about that and make a contribution towards the future being less overpopulated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.